And then
make sure that you do it to Facebook right away, because you said that was the glitch last time.
well, yeah, I hadn't turned it on yet. So
Okay.
give me one moment. Preparing live stream preview.
Oh, and can you make me a co-host, Dennis?
Already done.
Okay. I'm gonna mute people who are not talking right now, or Dennis can. Okay, so we don't have
T-shirt
background
say,
noise.
Paul?
I'm sorry, what, Chris?
What does your T-shirt say?
Oh, yeah. Can you read it? This is what a feminist looks like. One of my feminist T-shirts, right? Yeah. We are both women and men, and non-binary too, and real men wear pink, darn it. Even when it looks a little like Pepto-Bismol. All right, so we are recording, folks. Welcome to the second of our regional vice chair candidate evenings. This is so exciting. We've been hosting a number of these forums now for the countywide LACDP officers, and now for the regional LACDP officers. Vice chairs are regional vice chairs, officers of LACDP. They sit on the policy committee, which operates like an executive board of LACDP. And even though voters in the region, a collection usually of 2 to 4 assembly districts, only those voters can vote for their particular favored regional vice chair. Regional vice chairs get to oversee policy and vote on things, of course, that affect all of us within LACDP. So thank you, everyone, for coming and being interested in coming and learning more about the candidates. I really look forward to a good discussion tonight. We have here with us already John Harabedian, and he is running in Region 3 to be regional vice chair. And we will see if Patti Sulpizio, who RSVP'd via Facebook, comes later, perhaps. We did not hold candidates to a strict 6 o'clock start time. They could come at any point. I did request, though, that candidates let me know if they were going to come after the 6 to 7 hour. And there's another person who may or may not come, or may not run. So we could have as many as 3, but we at least have 1, and that is John Harabedian. And if John is ready to rock and roll, I think we all are.
Let's do it.
Let's make sure we get a mic check. We got John's mic on. We have everybody else, if you aren't already, mute yourselves, or Dennis or I will mute you so we eliminate any background noise, get it nice and good for optimal sound quality and video and audio recording. We are going to make a great MTV politics video tonight. All right. So again, welcome, John. And so the way this will operate, because we're not doing round robin, since you're the only one here right now for this first hour, is we will take an opening statement from you for 3 minutes, and then we will do our so-called regular round of questions that were solicited from members of LACDP, and then we, put them on the list. We had to, of course, sometimes change them, combine them, in various ways, order them, etc. You'll have, I believe it's 8 regular round questions with 1-minute responses for each. And then we go to a lightning round of yes or no or one-word answers. And that's actually pretty extensive. That's where most of the questions come from. And but it actually goes relatively fast because of the short answers. What takes longer is actually the reading of some of these questions. And then we will proceed to a special 1-minute bonus question that you will enjoy. And all of us attendees have enjoyed these last few weeks. And then a closing statement of 3 minutes as well. So that is the format. And we will, John, you might want to, if you have your smartphone ready, it can help, but it can also be distracting for you if you time yourself. But Dennis and I will operate the stopwatch. And then what we'll do is what I've done is like a 10-second warning with my hands, basically. So I'll count down with my fingers, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So, if you see me, but especially because we have time tonight, you might be the only person that comes tonight. We will hold you to the time, but obviously we'll let you finish your thought, your sentence, even maybe your paragraph. So yeah, feel at ease and enjoy it. These nights have been enjoyable, but they've also been informative and educational and interesting. Very interesting, and because these subjects are and they're important. And so some of the questions you might see as tough. I don't know, but they are the issues of the day, as it were. As many LACDP members see it here, right now and going forward this next 4-year term. So anyway, without further ado, you're welcome to start with your 3-minute statement. And whenever you begin speaking, Denis and I will start the stopwatch.
Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate it, and appreciate being here. This should be a good time. I hope this is a conversation where we can just be comfortable with you guys asking me any questions that you want, and I'll do my best to answer them. And look, if I get close to a 3-minute opening statement, then I haven't done my job, because opening statements are usually the most probably worthless things in many ways, because most people tune out after about 30 seconds. But I'm John Harabedian. I'm a council member in Sierra Madre. I am a newly elected delegate to LACDP and the Central Committee. Believe it or not, before probably about 2 years ago, I didn't really know what the Central Committee was. I've been a lifelong Democrat since I was 18. I registered as a Democrat when we were trying to get Al Gore elected to president, and we came up short there. And have never been away from the party since. I think the only reason why I'm a delegate, frankly, is because I'm a failed LA County supervisorial candidate. I ran for LA County Supervisor in District 5 against the Republican incumbent, Catherine Barger, and ran on issues that were extremely important and continue to be important for me. And those include our housing and homelessness crisis. That includes healthcare. That includes criminal justice reform. That includes our broken foster care system. And that includes our broken immigration system. And those issues really are reasons why I want to get involved with party leadership. I'm new to the party, and I think fresh perspective is good. And I also think that we need someone as vice chair of these various regions, in this case, Region 3, that's going to be open and open to working with everyone and listening. And really, I think the job of the vice chair, other than sitting on policy committee and shaping policy, is really being a conduit and really listening to the delegates in the region and making sure that my personal agenda doesn't come in the way of ensuring that all the delegates, and those that might not even be elected delegates, but who want to get their voices heard, have their voices heard. So I'm stepping into this really because I think that we're at a time that's really critical, where we have open-minded, fair people who are going to be transparent. And I'd like to think that's who I am, and that's the leadership that I've brought to the city council the last 8 years, and that I'll bring to LACDP. So thank you for having me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah, you actually have another 30 seconds to a minute. I didn't know if when you first started speaking, you were just kind of, but the thing is that I should note to the audience, John, has graciously agreed to come tonight and also answer your questions from the floor. Hopefully we can get through the preset thing pretty quickly within 30 minutes so that we can take some questions from the floor. I do have already 2 questions from one person that she can't be here tonight due to work. And so she wanted me to ask them on her behalf. So hopefully we do have time, for some with John, and hopefully he doesn't have to leave right at 7 on the dot. But up to him, and he's got a family and all.
It really, it has more to do with my 6-year-old and 2-year-old who are literally knocking on my door out there. more
Yeah.
than anything else. So honestly, it really just depends. I'm hearing the 2-year-old actually crying as we speak. So
Oh boy.
we're off to a good start.
Yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, if you're ready to finish your, I guess that's it about your.
Oh no! Look, I was I was totally serious. I think opening statements are the least helpful thing for you guys. So yeah, let's get into the questions.
Okay, very good. And these also serve a bit as opening statement style questions. So that's good. So the first question, John, let me get the stopwatch ready. Is pretty simple, but also perhaps kind of involved. It is, why are you a Democrat in 1 minute?
Yeah. Well, I think the main answer really is because I think Democrats and our party we believe fundamentally in the moral obligation to help those who are fundamentally most disadvantaged, whether it's people with mental and physical disabilities, whether it's people who are being oppressed, whether it's our undocumented immigrants, whether it's those that are fighting for healthcare, whether it's those that have been incarcerated. Our party have always been a party that is seeking to actually uplift those that have been pushed aside and who in many ways live in the shadows. Again, the genesis of my Democratic involvement was the 2000 presidential election. And that was an eye-opening experience for me because we actually won, but we came up short. And I, from that day, just knew that that's who I was. And I think the issues that I believe in, frankly, the Democratic Party is the only party that actually has tried to fight for those. All right, I'm good. I'm good.
No.
No. Look, I thought you were saying stop, but then I remember with the 10. But no.
Right. Yeah. This isn't stop. It's just the countdown.
No. Good. All good. Now I'll remember that. That's 50 seconds.
That means you got 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
So, if you want to say something more for 10 seconds, feel free.
No, go Democrat.
Okay.
That's
all right. So the next question is, let me stop the thing. Okay. Please describe your involvement within the Democratic Party, such as being a member of or leader in Democratic Party clubs or organizations, this county central committee, the California Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee, or the Democratic National Convention, etc.
Yeah. I mean, other than I won an ADEM election, I think in 2015, and served as an ADEM for 2 years, and then served again as an ADEM for AD 41. But other than that, I've never been in a leadership position for the party or a local Democratic, club, and have really never been involved in kind of local Democratic organizations. And so this is kind of a first for me. I felt like my experience as an ADEM, frankly, was a little underwhelming. Like I didn't really find it to be all that worthwhile for many reasons. But I do think that there is some trepidation with me, personally, with being involved in quote unquote the party and leadership, because it's just not really who I am. I think as an elected and as a leader who's been overseeing a city and regional politics, I like to be somewhat independent, but I think stepping into this leadership role within the party is important at the stage we are right now.
All right, very good. Thank you, John. And next question. In terms of your political ideology, what type of Democrat would you describe yourself as? Would you describe yourself as a conservative, moderate, liberal, progressive, democratic socialist, or something else? And why?
Yeah, I'd probably describe myself as a mix of progressive and democratic socialist. I guess my most kind of formative years of Dem politics I was a research assistant for Larry Lessig, who's a professor at Harvard Law School. Now he's a professor at Stanford Law School, where I went to law school, and I became very close with him. And his mission really in life has been, for the past decade and a half, getting big money out of politics. And I think our progressive and democratic socialist movements, frankly, need to be better on it. I think we need to be way more strict with our elected leaders on the money that they take, because I think it directly affects the policy that we pass in every sort of dimension, whether it's energy policy, whether it's housing policy, whether it's criminal justice reform. And so my main kind of issues all kind of stem from kind of corruption and making sure we have clean politics and transparent politics.
All right, very good. Thank you. 1 minute exactly. Okay, next question. Many Democrats, especially Democrats under 50, now identify as Democratic Socialists. And given that Bernie Sanders, a Democratic Socialist, won California and LA County in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary, what is your plan to include and empower Democratic Socialists in the Democratic Party and to advance Democratic Socialist priorities?
Was this question from Bobby Nelson? Is Bobby Nelson on this call? I feel like
you might be onto something, but we aren't revealing who in each question.
I got this question a lot from him, and he gives this question to everybody at these forums. I think it's a really good question. I mean, I think the easiest answer is listen to anyone who's self-identifying as a Democratic Socialist and ask them what their priorities are, and try to get those priorities represented within our policies and within our party, and having elected officials who actually take these things seriously. I was, endorsed by DSA in my supervisorial race, along with Daryl Park, who ran with me. We were co-endorsed, and I think that the faction of the Democratic Socialists within our party is becoming bigger and more important by the day. And I think that we have to realize where the future of the party is. And I think, again, I don't love the labels of progressive versus Democratic Socialist, but I think we have to realize that that's a big seat at the table now.
All right. Very good. Thank you. And next question. Let's restart the timer. Are you an activist? And if so, what is or what has been the nature of your activism? What activist organizations are you or have you been involved with?
I think it would be a stretch to call me an activist. I think that wouldn't, I don't kind of view myself as an activist, and I don't think activists view me as an activist. So I think if I were to say that I was an activist, I just don't think that would be the proper, label or definition of me. But I would say that I have been extremely involved and activisty, if you will, on big money in politics. And from an academic standpoint, from helping candidates who run on platforms of taking no PAC money, taking no corporate money, taking no money from big oil and energy companies. So I take very seriously getting money out of politics, and I have for about a decade and a half, like I said. So there are areas in my, political involvement where I feel like I have been an activist, but I don't think it's a genuine statement to call myself an activist. It's a hard question, though.
No. Thank you for that thoughtful answer. And next question. What is your current, reset the timer. Okay, what is your current occupation? For whom or for what do you work? And what is your employment history? For whom or for what have you worked?
Yeah, well, I'll try to do this in 1 minute, and if I need more time, let me know. I work for a current company called Omni Bridgeway. We're a commercial litigation funding company. What we fundamentally do is provide money to smaller companies and individuals who are in big commercial litigation with larger companies on Wall Street, insurance companies, tech companies, who have done some sort of legal wrong to the underfunded smaller player. It's kind of like a David versus Goliath industry. So we're a public traded company. Really, we're an investment company. And again, we invest in helping people navigate the legal system and have their day in court, which is extremely fulfilling. Before that, I was a prosecutor in the Los Angeles County DA's office for a year. And before that, I worked for a law firm called Latham & Watkins in Los Angeles. And I was a litigator there. And before that, I clerked for a federal judge in the Central District of California, which is a big region, but I clerked in the Orange County courthouse. In a previous life, I was a Coro Fellow, and I worked in a number of different jobs. But, my current job is at Omni Bridgeway.
Okay, all right, thank you. And next question is, why are you running for this LACDP position? What do you hope to accomplish in office, and what do you feel makes you qualified for the position?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I frankly was not all that intent on running for this position. And it was not like my wish growing up to be like vice chair of Region 3 of the LA County Democratic Party, especially not having ever been involved. The first time I was involved with the LA County Democratic Party was seeking the endorsement for my supervisorial race, a few months back. I think it's important because I think we need people who are going to be independent, transparent, who are going to be fair to all those who are involved with the party, and who are going to have the temperament, frankly, to build coalitions and work with people that might not necessarily agree with them, and who are going to be willing to reach out and bring people together. And I think I am qualified to do that. I've spent 8 years on a city council where it's a fairly diverse city in terms of political views, but it can tend to be pretty conservative. And I've always been, I think, a good progressive voice that can also bridge gaps with folks that necessarily aren't. So I think I have some experience and can be a useful vice chair.
Okay, thank you for that. And final question in this initial round, a regular round we call it, is have you raised or spent money for your campaign to be elected an officer of LACDP? And if so, from whom or from what sources, and whom or what have you paid and for what campaign purposes?
No, I haven't raised any money for this. I hope to never have to raise money again after running for county supervisor, frankly. I don't know if there'll ever be a time when I raise money again. So no, I haven't raised any money. I haven't spent any money on this campaign, and that'd be interesting if folks did, but no, I have not. Okay,
that is easy enough. We can put the balance of your time to another question for you. Okay, so this we now proceed to a fun, interesting, exciting, and tough in some ways, lightning round. And I swear that Zeus will not come down with lightning bolts, and unfortunately we don't have any cool lightning graphics from CNN or other cable TV outlets. But it should be good, and the audience enjoys it, and I think all the candidates have enjoyed it, at least the candidates who came. So let's proceed, and these are yes or no or one-word answers. You can also say not sure. Sometimes candidates aren't sure about a given question. You can also ask for clarification on a question, and sometimes I'll clarify things for audience members too in the question. I think, I'm sorry.
I said cool, sorry.
Oh, great, okay. So, okay, this is the lightning round, and let's go to question number one. For whom did you vote in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary?
Bernie Sanders. Voted for him in 2016 too.
All right, well, that's the next question. So for whom did you vote in the 2016 primary? Okay, we answered that. Yeah. And for whom did you vote in the 2008 Democratic presidential primary?
Barack Obama. Campaigned for him for months in Texas. So yeah, Barack Obama.
In Texas, okay.
I did.
All right. Are corporations people?
No. No.
Is money speech?
No.
Do you believe for-profit business contributions in politics gives rise to corruption, or at least the appearance of possible corruption?
100%. Yes.
Okay. Do you support the public financing of all political campaigns for public office, either through direct funding or public matching funds or campaign vouchers, also known as democracy dollars, etc.?
Absolutely.
Okay. Should LACDP itself accept contributions from any of the following, or endorse candidates who accept campaign contributions from or benefit from independent expenditure support by any of the following? And there's a long list here. Okay, so the first on the list is lobbyists with for-profit clients.
No.
Fossil fuel companies, their executives or their lobbies.
No.
Health insurance companies, their executives or their lobbies.
No.
Pharmaceutical companies, their executives or their lobbies.
No.
Tobacco companies, their executives or their lobbies.
No.
Private prison companies, their executives or their lobbies.
No.
Police unions.
No.
Prison guard unions.
No.
Charter schools, their executives or their lobbies.
I'm just going to be honest. This is an existential kind of question that I'm just going to say I don't know, and I don't know enough about where we are on that. So
that is an acceptable answer. Not sure. I don't know. That's sometimes where candidates like you know, will give a sentence, you know, why they don't know. But
yeah, I think that we need to get past kind of are you simply for charter or against charter? Are you with the teachers union? Are you against them? I just don't, to me, it's not a clear litmus test that is clear in my head. And I obviously need to learn more about it, but I don't think someone should necessarily be disqualified by taking charter school money. I'll say this, I've never taken a dime from charter schools and I never would. But I think that certain candidates have their reasons, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're not for public education. But I wouldn't personally take it. I just don't know if the party should not necessarily be backing candidates that have ever taken charter school money, because I know we have some good folks that have taken charter school money who may not take it now, but have in the past. So.
All right, we granted you the balance of the time from one of those other questions that you didn't. So thank you for that explanation. And then next group or individuals, entities, real estate developers and their business associates with past, present, or potentially future projects subject to discretionary approval by the candidate.
Well, okay, I said no. I mean, obviously, if these are affordable housing developers, which I could see an argument to bring them more into the fold. But no, I mean, I'm just saying no. But I think that's a sort of a delicate, unique question depending on where your policies are on housing. So, but no.
Okay. Individual or corporate contractors with past, present, or potentially future contracts subject to discretionary approval by the candidate.
Yeah, no. I think no. That's the whole point of getting money out of politics.
Right. Okay. And last one in the list here: for-profit business entities or their political action committees.
No.
Okay. So that concludes that question within the lightning round, but we got more to go. So it's going to get good and fun here. Next question. Whom did you support in the 2017 California Democratic Party chair's race? Eric Bauman or Kimberly Ellis or someone else?
I didn't vote, but I would have voted. I'm just going to say I would have voted for Eric Bauman. I didn't go to the convention because at that point I had an alternate that went, and I think that I don't know who that alternate voted for, but not knowing what I know about Eric Bauman now, I know that I would have voted for him then. I obviously wouldn't have voted for him now.
Okay. Whom did you support in the 2019 California Democratic Party chair's race? Rusty Hicks or Kimberly Ellis or someone else?
Rusty Hicks.
Okay. LACDP immediate past chair Eric Bauman was forced to resign as chair of the California Democratic Party November 29, 2018, amid several allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Should Mr. Bauman also have been forced to resign or face removal proceedings by LACDP?
Yes. I mean, I guess I'm not aware of exactly what happened, but yeah.
Yeah. Should LACDP pass a resolution calling on LA County Registrar Recorder Dean Logan to resign or be fired for leading the debacle that was the March 3rd election in LA County and or for his other past failures too?
Man, I don't know. I mean, look, I was a part of that election and I wasn't very happy, but I don't know if I'd go that far. So I guess no.
Okay. Should LACDP pass a resolution calling for LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva to resign for his scandals and failures of leadership?
No, and I can explain. I don't know.
Okay. Should LACDP pass a resolution calling on California Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon to resign or be removed from office for failing to even allow consideration in the Assembly of SB 562, the Senate passed bill for single-payer healthcare in California?
While I disagree with that, his decision, no. I don't think that resolution should be passed, no.
Okay. Should every LACDP member have the right to serve on at least one standing committee of LACDP if they so choose?
I mean, this is when I'm kind of ignorant as to how many standing committees are, and I'm going to say no because I have no idea whether that is actually possible. I don't know how many standing committees are, and if everyone wanted to, I just don't know if we have 300 spots. So
Okay.
I don't know if it'd be feasible.
Should every LACDP member have the right to serve on their preferred committee or committees, except to account for regional representation, with a random drawing performed for any committee with too many volunteers?
Yeah, again, I just don't know. I'm not knowledgeable, I guess, enough of how many committees and how many spots there are. You know, if it were feasible, I mean, sure, I think more people the better. I'm going to have to say no because I just don't know if there's 50 spots and there's 300 delegates. I don't know how that works. So,
okay. Should club representatives from local clubs of LACDP be made regular voting members of LACDP?
Oh, as a rule, no, I don't think so. Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Should the name of the LACDP chair be removed from the return address label listed on official LACDP mailings and from the banner of other LACDP announcements, meant to be from LACDP itself rather than from just its chair?
No.
So it should not be removed?
No, it should not be removed.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just say I don't have a personal problem with that, and I don't see it as problematic. So no.
Okay. Do you believe it is a clear conflict of interest for the executive director of LACDP to serve as a representative of and spokesperson for the election or re-election campaigns of candidates for LACDP officer positions?
Oh, wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
So the question is, do you believe it is a clear conflict of interest for the executive director of LACDP to serve as a representative of and spokesperson for the election or re-election campaigns of candidates for LACDP officer positions?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay. Do you believe a code of ethics should be adopted for members of LACDP?
Yes, assuming that there isn't a code of ethics. I guess I assume that there is a code of ethics, but yeah, to the extent that there isn't a code of ethics, sure. I think that makes total sense.
Okay. Do you believe ethics training should be provided for paid staff members of LACDP?
Yes.
Okay. Should LACDP mandate that its parliamentarian be or become a registered and approved member of the National Association of Parliamentarians?
I'm going to say no because I have no idea what the National Association of Parliamentarians is. I mean, it sounds really official. I just, without having any knowledge of what it is, I'm not going to say that I would mandate someone become a part of it.
Okay. Should an LACDP banner or sign be placed over the UTLA logo at the lectern during our LACDP meetings?
Should it? I guess I don't know, and I don't really care whether it is or not. So I'll be totally honest. So I don't really know how to answer that.
Okay. Should LACDP continue its policy of only funding a small number of candidates, a select favored few chosen for unexplained reasons, to the tune of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars, instead of funding and or supporting through independent expenditures all LACDP endorsed candidates, including by reviving its mailers to voters that used to list all those candidates?
That's a great question. I think that, so this is yes or no. Look, I think all endorsed candidates should get, to the extent possible, resources from the party. It's a longer answer. Look, you have city council members in every city that seek the endorsement, so I'm not sure it's feasible from a money standpoint, but I'd like to see more candidates get it for sure.
Okay, LACDP candidate, or the LACDP candidate endorsement application form mandates that candidates check off a box stating, I have reviewed the latest California Democratic Party platform. Should that sentence be changed to read, I have reviewed and agreed to abide by the latest California Democratic Party platform?
I don't know. I'd love to, I guess, know a little bit more about the difference. I mean, I get it, just read versus read and abide, but I'm not sure how someone necessarily abides by the platform. So I'll just say no. That's a tough question. I don't know enough about why that question's being asked. So if someone can provide a little bit more background and ask it again, I'm happy to answer. So.
Yeah, maybe I think the intent was probably just to say I have reviewed and agree with the latest California Democratic Party platform.
Oh, and agreed. Sorry.
Yeah, the substitution would be I have reviewed and agreed to abide by. Perhaps it's read I have reviewed and agree to or agree with the latest California Democratic Party platform.
Yeah, I mean, look, in substance, I don't see a huge difference, but sure. I mean, both sound fine to me, but.
Okay. Should any LACDP endorsed candidate, once elected, fail to abide by the California Democratic Party platform, do you support revocation of that candidate's endorsement?
No, I think that's tricky. I mean, look, no, I can explain more later, but
okay,
that's a big platform.
Okay. Article 2, Section C41 of the LACDP bylaws states that LACDP members who support a non-Democratic Party candidate for public office shall have their LACDP membership terminated. However, this bylaw has not been enforced against LACDP members who routinely support non-Democrats, including Republicans, in non-partisan races. Should this bylaw, like all LACDP bylaws, be enforced?
Absolutely, yeah, without question.
Okay. LACDP did not record nor share the PowerPoints from its 2 LACDP 2020-2024 orientation sessions. Does this demonstrate a lack of assistance and transparency?
No, not necessarily. I think I was on those calls. I thought that they had said that they were going to share them. So I hope that they do share them. I don't think it necessarily shows anything broader than that they just haven't shared them. But
well, no, for the record, Executive Director Hurd stated that they would not be recorded and he would not be sharing the PowerPoints.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought he said he would. No, I'd like him to share them, but I'd love to know the reasons why he's not sharing them. I guess I'd like to hear his side of it before I make a statement like that.
Okay. Despite the motion passed at our LACDP organizational meeting on July 11, LACDP Executive Director Drexel Hurd is refusing to provide member contact info free of charge to all candidates for LACDP positions. He is still demanding payment from candidates for the office of Regional Vice Chair, for instance. Should Regional Vice Chair candidates, Regional Secretary candidates, and soon candidates to be part of the LACDP delegation of the California Democratic Party be given free access to member contact info per the successful motion on July 11th?
Yeah, I support that motion. But I also, I've always happily paid for those lists, especially my supervisor race, because I do think it's good to give money to the party. But no, I do support that motion to provide the information.
Okay. LACDP sells our member contact information to third parties. Should members have to opt in to have their personal information sold to third parties?
Yeah, I think there should be an option. I think there should be an option to, opt in before that information is shared. I think that'd be fair. I didn't realize that.
Okay. Should LACDP adopt a bylaws change to allow vacated seats to be filled first by the 8th place finisher, then the 9th place finisher, etc., and only rely on AD delegation appointment when vacancies or candidates from the last election have been exhausted?
How do they do it now? I guess I don't know how they do it now.
Yeah, for benefit of you and the audience. So currently, if someone resigns, moves, dies in office, the remaining 6 members of the elected 7-member delegation from the AD vote on who they want to replace that person. In fact, I think alternates get a vote there too. To install as the new person to fill that vacancy, instead of going to the 8th place finisher from the election.
Yeah, no, I think it would be better if it were, if it were the 8th place or the 9th, whatever the next position was. I think that would be better, frankly.
Okay, and then final question in this lightning round. Should brief regional reports be delivered at every LACDP meeting by regional vice chairs or their member representatives?
Oh, sorry. Can you ask that again? What you want regional vice chairs to report?
Well, so the question is, should brief regional reports be delivered at every regular LACDP meeting by regional vice chairs or their member representatives?
I mean, look, I've been to, I think, 2 LACDP meetings, again, just for endorsement purposes. I don't know. I mean, that may take up a lot of time, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea that each region reports very briefly. I do know that there's a lot that goes on at those meetings, but I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Okay.
And we have a special 1-minute bonus question. Before we go to the closing statement of 3 minutes, it's to get to know you a little bit better in just 1 minute. So the question is, before we ask you for your closing statement in 1 minute, what other thing or things might you like for us to know about you? This can be anything, personal or political, familial or worldly, important or merely interesting. Whatever you'd like to share about yourself with us for 1 minute when you start speaking.
Oh, man.
That's a tough question, I guess. Yeah, I know. But you don't have the benefit of a round robin round where other people may go before you and give you good ideas. But yeah,
yeah. Look, I'll share 2 things. Like, I'm a huge Los Angeles Dodgers fan. My life has been altered in so many ways because of COVID-19, but the biggest, one of the biggest ones was not being able to watch Dodger games up until a couple of days ago. 2, I'm expecting a 3rd child, so I have 2 young sons, and I'm having a 3rd son in January. So that's a nice personal tidbit. And so I'm an avid Dodger fan, and I'm basically a stay-at-home dad that works full time because my wife goes to work still. And come January, it's going to get a lot harder. So that's 2 things about me.
Okay. All right. So the baby's due in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early January, which, will be a COVID baby probably still. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that is great. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about yourself. And so now we'll proceed to your closing statement. You'll have 3 minutes. And then if you'd like to stay around for a little while longer for, Q&A from the floor to clarify other questions, I noted a couple of points where you said you wanted to clarify more.
Yeah.
Feel free, but you got 3 minutes starting whenever you want to start speaking.
Great. Well, thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone, for the questions and letting me meet you and tell you a little bit more about myself. I wish we could be doing this in person, but we're probably not going to be able to do that for a while. I do think that, our party is at a point where I think we need people in positions of leadership that have fresh perspective, that are going to be uniters and coalition builders, and folks that are serious about policy. And I'd like to think that I bring a combination of all 3 of those together. And I think that the reasons why we as a party have been successful over the last 2 decades or more of really turning this into a solid blue state, is because we don't compromise on policy. I view our goal as a party is to get real serious progressive policies enacted through serious, independent, and transparent elected officials who are going to put our voices ahead of special interests, of big money, and frankly, of machine politics. And I have experience as a candidate running in upstart kind of progressive grassroots campaigns. And now as a newbie, if you will, to the LA County Democratic Party, I'm willing to step up and help this region, Region 3, unite all the voices within our delegation. And I think that we are a big tent party, and I think that we have a lot of people who are deeply involved and care a lot about this party that, for the most part, I'd say 90% of the time view a lot of things similarly and view things eye to eye. I think that we have some disagreement on issues, and we have some disagreements on policy, but I'll be a leader that, frankly, will put my personal agenda aside. I don't think the role of a vice chair is to say I'm coming in with 5 things that I want to get done to the detriment or be damned what everyone else wants. I'm coming in to listen, to hear you, and frankly, to hear everyone, whether you're an elected delegate, whether you're an alternate, whether you're just someone who lives in the district. I hope that I can be approachable and someone who you can feel comfortable coming to, who isn't beholden to anyone. It's not who I am. And I will be very vigilant in making sure that we continue to be a party of transparency and independence, and of pushing progressive policies that are helping those, like I said before, that are most disenfranchised. I think those are our undocumented immigrants. I think that those are our folks in communities of color, especially Black lives. I think the trans community needs to be better represented in our policies. And I think that we need to get serious about healthcare as a human right, housing as a human right, and reforming our criminal justice and mental health funding to where we can make all those things reality. And I hope I can help do that within this party structure.
All right. Thank you, John. Okay, so that concludes the official portion of your Q&A. It is now up to you whether or not you'd like to stick around to clarify things.
Yeah.
Answer.
Yeah. I don't have either of my kids banging on this door, so let's do it.
Okay. I noticed you said that you wanted to perhaps clarify or expand on the Alex Villanueva question. That was one of them. Did you care to add more now?
For sure. I mean, look, I think that it's really easy to say that we need to, let me be very clear. I don't agree with what the sheriff has done since he's been in there. I think the lack of transparency has been really troublesome. And so by no way or means am I a Alex Villanueva apologist. So let's get that straight. I think this is more of a process point to me. We have an election in 2022 where he will be up for election. I think we speak at the election box, and I think we speak and we vote with our feet. I think the LACDP issuing, frankly, any sort of formal sanction against him, trying to create some sort of animosity between us and him, that's just not my brand of politics, frankly. And I don't think that we should be wasting our time on that. I think that he has shown that he may not have the priorities in terms of the reform that he said he did when he was running. In reality, I don't know if that's really his priority since he's been up there. And that's become apparent. And look, I think a lot of people feel like they were misguided and they were lied to. That being said, I just think that we have an election in 2 years. And while LACDP may have some egg and mustard on their face from endorsing him, let's see what he can do over the next 2 years with a little pressure from us. And if we aren't satisfied, then there's going to be an election, and we'll see who's up against him. But that's just what I want to clarify is that I'm not necessarily saying that we should all support him. I'm just saying that I'm not sure that LACDP's time is going to be best spent, especially from someone who takes criminal justice reform very seriously, antagonizing and going to war with our LA County Sheriff. I think there's other ways that we can go about this. And if we think, necessary, go around the Sheriff's Department. So that's where my view on it is.
If I can take a point of personal privilege and do a follow-up question as the moderator here.
Please.
When Alex Villanueva came to the Field of Burn Democratic Club, which I'm a member and a board member, I had a chance to speak at some length with him before the meeting, and not super long length, but some length. And one of the things I told him was, I don't think you should be having to go around to all these clubs and all these different groups to try to get an endorsement. I don't believe that people should campaign for sheriff, because I believe that sheriff should be appointed and should be subject to civilian control, not just every 4 years at the ballot box. To him, I use the analogy of, we wouldn't say that we think the top generals of the branches of the military, or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or the Secretary of Defense should be independently elected. They're subject to the control and orders of the President of the United States, because our founders said the guys who have guns should be under civilian control. And police chiefs, of course, are under civilian control. The councils can fire them. Alex Villanueva is not fireable, nor is any sheriff in the state of California, except every 4 years or via recall. So I guess the question is, do you believe that sheriffs should be elected still, or should they operate like police chiefs, or quite frankly, members of the military, who are subject to, civilian control and hiring or firing by the civilian or civilians?
Yeah. I don't think sheriffs should be elected. As a city council member, one of the, I think, biggest roles that we have is hiring our staff, including our police and fire chiefs. And I think that the county board should be hiring and overseeing the sheriff. So, no, I think that is undoubtedly what we should be doing. And I think you would probably need a vote of the people to change that. I think it'd be hard to do, but I've always been a little dismayed, and I have no idea why we elect sheriffs, frankly. But yeah, again, I think the ballot box is where people show their true feelings on this. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I also just wanted to make sure that you understood that question. The one about the conflict of interest for executive directors of LACDP to represent or speak for the election or re-election campaigns of candidates for LACDP officer positions, such as yourself. That whether or not you believe it is a clear conflict of interest for that to occur, or if the executive director should be rigorously neutral in any races, and not serve as any kind of a representative of or spokesperson for any person.
No, I 100% understand the question. Yeah, I don't see that as a clear conflict. And look, we can debate that. But I do think that there are grades and there's gradations there. I don't think that and I don't know what we're speaking about. This is sort of a hypothetical, because I really don't know what you're talking about specifically. But obviously, I think that there are things that would be, uncomfortable, and things that shouldn't be done, where an ED might be doing certain things on behalf of an officer running for election. But again, I don't know exactly what we're referring to, but no, I don't think it's necessarily a clear conflict if an ED speaks in favor of an officer who's running for re-election or helps with a campaign, because I do think that our EDs throughout many organizations, including LACDP, they can wear different hats, and I just don't know if there's something specific that was done that you're referring to. But I think that we have to be careful when we say, hey, blanket, this is a clear conflict of interest if X person does one thing, which is very broad. There was a very broad inclusion of things that the ED may or may not have done. So No, I don't think, just to answer the question, simply, I don't think it's a clear conflict of interest.
Okay,
Now, there's probably, go ahead.
I was going to say, so that for the benefit of you and the benefit of others listening in tonight, if you didn't already know or haven't been following or didn't tune in to the election, did you tune in, John, the other night during the vote counting?
No, I did not.
Okay. So the four countywide officers who ran, or countywide officer candidates who ran, filed a formal election challenge based on 4 points. And the second point was Drexel Hurd's conflicts of interest with Mark Gonzalez and with the other officer candidates that were on Mark Gonzalez's slate. And so just so you know, Drexel Hurd did serve as a representative of and spokesperson for Mark Gonzalez and the members of that slate with me and with Jacinta Linca and Carrie Scoville in trying to coordinate them to come to this independent forum. They never came. They were given 3 opportunities, 3 different nights, and we held 3 different forum nights for the countywide officers. They didn't come to any. They had initially committed through Drexel. And Mark Gonzalez and Jacob Haik specifically said, you have to go through Drexel to schedule us for this event. However, we made it clear this was not an official LACDP event. It's one thing for the ED to schedule officers, as he said he does, for official events in which they're representing LACDP in an official capacity. For instance, their speaking engagements to local Democratic clubs, etc. However, this was an independent and is an independent unofficial forum for LACDP candidates. And so we made that clear that it was a campaign appearance, but they said, no, you got to go through Drexel. We then later found out that Drexel was being paid by Mark Gonzalez's personal political action committee, out of which Mark was running his reelection campaign. The Patt political action committee is called Democrats for a New Generation. And he paid Drexel in May 19th, as a political consultant. And Drexel Hurd did not answer our questions directly in a few emails. And then finally he did in a 3rd email when Jacinta and I were asking him, are you being paid to be the representative of and spokesperson for Mark Gonzalez or his slate? And finally he said no. But he angrily responded, anything I do in my personal time is my business, not your business or anyone else's business. Mark Gonzalez in a text message then implied that he was supplementing the income of Drexel Hurd because I guess he said LACDP members have had to take pay cuts during COVID, which I hadn't known about. But and then Drexel implied at our Monday or Tuesday night meeting during the vote counting, when the challenge occurred, in defense of himself, he said that because of COVID and times are tough, he's taking all of the consulting gigs he can get. And so the other 4 candidates complained that it was rigged and that the executive director was favoring and or working for, in a paid or unpaid capacity, the chair. And the other candidates running with him, one of whom, of course, Jacob Haik, was not an officer. Drexel Hurd was saying, I just help officers, but of course, Jacob Haik was not an officer until July 11th. So the idea was that those 4 candidates who lost were saying, we didn't have the advantage of having the executive director on our side, that the executive director should be fair and neutral and helping or not helping all candidates. Instead of just some candidates, his favorite candidates or candidates he's being paid to serve on the side. So that's why this conflict of interest question was asked and raised and challenged officially in a formal election challenge.
Paul,
No.
this is Melissa. I just wanted to say, as one of those candidates, I wondered, well, I didn't try it, but I wondered, well, if I ask Drexel should I go through Drexel to schedule my appearances or, whatever? It was obvious that Drexel was off limits. He was supposed to, in my mind, hold, a very neutral position as being serving all of us, not just serving a certain number of candidates running. And also disturbing is that Drexel is a voting member of, I'm not sure his position, but he voted for, surprise, surprise, the slate. So, I mean, whether or not there is actually a conflict of interest is hard to, demonstrate or prove, but it's still perceived as pretty strong as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That background's helpful. Yeah. So thanks, Paul and Melissa. I mean, look, all I'll say is, having known all those facts, I mean, I think to Melissa's point, I don't think that there is a clear conflict of interest there. Now, what I will say is, will processes like this, I think, play out differently in the future? I don't know, because of, based on the facts that you laid out, I think we all want to make sure that everyone is just on the same page. And at the end of the day, I think the question, the way it's phrased, and I'll just, this is just constructive feedback. I think when you that question phrased as, is this a clear conflict of interest, I think it makes it a hard question for someone like me to answer, because conflict of interest is kind of a legal term, especially for a lawyer. And look, I don't think based on those facts, it's a clear conflict of interest. I can see why it's a very personal, for those of you involved, why it was unsettling, but I don't think that the ED necessarily can't do some of those things. And so I just think that, I think that we as a party need to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the way these processes are run in the future. But look, I will stick by even with that background, I appreciate all that. Yeah, I'll stick by my original answer, which is no, I don't think that is a clear conflict of interest. Do I think that for those that were running, against the officers, and for Mr. Haik, who wasn't an officer yet, do they feel slighted? Sure. I mean, maybe they are, they rightfully feel that way. But I don't think that these types of elections and endorsement processes are ever perfect. I'd like to think that leadership is about growth, and that the next time we try to do it better. But I will say, having known Drexel and got to know him, this isn't someone who, in my mind, is unethical, or someone who is trying to put his personal agenda in front of the parties. I just don't think that's who he is. So I'm very comfortable with knowing that I don't think anything that was done was something that was done with some purpose of conflicts. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. So just to briefly touch on the 4 election challenges and the fact that Drexel, the suspicion is he may have been doing more than candidate scheduling, especially due to that payment. So the third point that was challenged by the candidates was an improper candidate listing on the ballot. So the thing was that Drexel, was apparently a partisan in this election, and that he was running the election. And when the candidates were listed, their names did not follow in alphabetical order. Their names followed their incumbent status. So the incumbent was listed first, and the challengers listed second. And the incumbent had a little star next to their name, and then at the bottom it was denoted that that person is the incumbent. And so the 4 challengers, were challenging that, and that Drexel Hurd, a partisan in the race, was listing them and favoring, as any elections expert would tell you, whoever goes first on a ballot line is going to get some more votes. And then especially with a star and incumbent noted that's who they are. And then the first point that the challengers raised was that Drexel Hurd, of course, was and still is demanding payment, for candidate lists. And they took that successful motion on July 11 to stop that and to force him to give it to candidates. But of course, he didn't give it to regional vice chair candidates, even though it was assumed that they would have access to it as well. And when he did supply the list to the 4 candidates, it was in, Melissa can speak more to this, a more unworkable format. It wasn't in Excel, it was in a PDF, and you had to go through all the things one by one and import them manually. So, things like that caused a lot of concern and question and criticism of Executive Director Hurd.
And Paul, for some of those things, I don't blame him per se. It seems to be the procedures. However, and that those, I would say, need to change. And I am wondering, though, why he is not giving out the list for, like, John and others that are running today, because that list I thought was voted on to be given out to everybody, including us that ran first, and then these people too. But the thing that I do take personally, just really quick, I don't want to take up much time, is that when I asked him directly, well, what list did the people that bought this get? Because the one I got, I can't imagine that costing $2,000 because it's not workable. It's really hard to work with. He got extremely condescending, and he said, "How dare he said, Melissa, the party needs to fundraise, and obviously you don't understand that. And judging by your speech from Saturday, you're not going to be taking that very seriously." So I do hold him personally accountable for that comment because it was unacceptable. But that's between me and him at this point. Anyway.
Yeah, I will say my experience with that has been, the previous ED before Drexel, when I was running for county supervisor, I had to pay for the list, and it came to me in a PDF. And yeah, I mean, look, it was unwieldy, and it was hard to use. And I think it is one of these kind of things about tradition in the party, which has just, to Melissa's point, has kind of just always been that way. But again, I thought we had moved past that now that there was the resolution that was sponsored and voted. And so I guess I'm a little out of the loop as to where we are on that. But I'd like to think that going forward, again, the lists are going to be provided, how and whether they were provided to the officer cans. Yeah, I really can't speak to that. But I do think that the party, I thought, at least as of last kind of meeting, had made the commitment to provide it. So, I mean, I think that's an easy one.
John, have you tried to get the list for yourself and your district? I mean, how are you doing your campaigning? Were you able to get the emails?
Yeah, so I have, I've just been doing it sort of grassroots in a way, and figuring out who the delegates are and trying to, which is probably why I haven't contacted a lot of delegates, frankly, because I don't know, my list is kind of all cobbled together. And
right.
So
well, Drexel might have that list, and I thought, he should be giving the contact info out. I don't know.
Yeah. No, look, I get it. I think that the list provision, I'd like to think going forward will be much better. And look, I mean, this is something that it sounds like everyone has talked to Drexel about. And again, I thought with the resolution, it would be kind of settled, but it sounds like it's not. But I think this should be some low-hanging fruit that we as a party can figure out. I mean, I do think that we have bigger fish to fry. I mean, I really do. I understand how this, right now is very much on the top of our mind, but I think we got to get, I think we have to focus on bigger things right now, in my mind. But not to say that this isn't important.
Okay. Did you, John, I do have some notes and things you wanted to clarify, but do you have things from the Q&A that are in your mind that you wanted to go back and expand on or clarify?
Oh, no, I mean, look, I mean, there's tough questions in there that I don't think there's easy answers in my mind. I think, and I know when I answered the, some of the questions about charter school money, for example, I mean, that is one where I think we have to have an honest conversation about it. And I don't like candidates taking charter school money. I'll be totally honest, and I wouldn't take charter school money. But I think some of these litmus tests on that are harder than others. I think in my mind, we need to, as a party, be able to talk about these things without, I think, drawing people as being traitors just because they do it. I'd like to hope that our party and the candidates that win elections don't take the money. But again, I think that there's some pretty good folks that have historically taken it, and maybe they regret it. But I don't think that they are, I hope that they aren't selling out our public education. So that's the one that sticks out in my head. Other than that, I thought the questions were good, and I tried to answer them to the best of my abilities. So.
Yeah, Dennis just let me know. I'm sorry to Todd and Susie and Sean have had their hands up. So Todd, you've had the hand up, I guess, the longest. My apologies for missing you and Dennis. If you'd like to ask John and he'd like to answer your question or your comment.
Okay, Paul, I wanted to expand on one of the questions that was in the lightning round, and that was the one in reference to Anthony Rendon and the SB 562.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe just ask the question, why don't we have Medicare for all in California?
Look, I'm with you, Todd. I think that there is no question in my mind that we as a party need to be, there are certain lines in the sand that we need to draw. And I think that's one of them. I think single payer has been something that I've been serious about, and Medicare for all has been something I'm serious about. And I want elected officials and people within our party who are serious about it. What Anthony Rendon did, I don't know why Anthony Rendon did that. I don't know the speaker. Maybe he has good reasons as to why he did it. I know what he said publicly why he didn't do it. But at the end of the day, I do think that we need to have serious leaders in positions of power that make that a priority. Because to me, it was real easy picking a presidential candidate, frankly, because that, to me, on a federal level, should be our biggest priority, which is healthcare. And I don't know why we don't have it. Frankly, I don't think I have my personal views. I don't think it's going to make sense when it's a state by state. I think we need federal leaders and presidents who are actually going to force this through Congress. But anything short of that, yeah, I hope that we have a state legislature and a governor who are going to sign that into law sooner rather than later. So, but I don't know why Rendon did that, frankly.
Well, I just wanted to, I'm kind of new to the club in this, but I think that the LA County CDP has patted Rendon on the back for his performance when he needs to be spanked.
Oh, yeah, you may be right. I'm like you. I haven't been part of LACDP up until, my election to the Central Committee. I only went through it as a candidate. So to the extent anyone's patting anyone on the back, I don't know. But I think that we need, we need leaders, especially our speakers, that are going to be real serious about this issue. And that's where I am on that. I don't, who knows? Maybe, what is he, a year removed? I don't know if Speaker Rendon is trying to push his own Medicare for all bill at this point. I don't know. Some of the people on this call would know better than I would at this point. So.
All right. Thanks.
Susie and Sean have had their hands up too. Susie, Sean?
So I just first of all want to thank John for being here. John, you're such a trooper. You've been going for an hour and a half. So thank you for doing this. And just want to acknowledge that you're the only regional vice chair who's present at this debate. So thank you for being here. Paul, thank you for organizing all of these debates. This is a lot of work, and I really appreciate everything that you do. And so I just want to start with that. Second, I just want to make a comment. I just want to know what the time frame is for the debates, because some of us have families, and my baby's, needing me to attend to her. So I wanted to know what was the time frame, from the beginning. It would be helpful to know if we're going to go on for an hour, 2 hours, so that I can plan my evening.
So that's the second thing. Okay. Yeah. Did you want to say something before I answer that?
And then I had one quick question for John. My quick question is, should the boards of charter schools abide by the Brown Act?
Or that's a great question. I think that they should. look, I think that it should be a level playing field. And if charter schools, it seems like the dialogue from them has always been this party line of, hey, it's kids first and let's, transparency and kind of these veiled attacks on teachers unions, I think, look, then let's all play by the same rules, and I think that, right now it's kind of this cloak and dagger sets of organization where you don't really know what's going on and where the money's coming from. And frankly, it's a lot of tech billionaires that somehow become, education advocates. So yeah, I would love to have public minutes and open air meetings. And to the extent that they weren't comfortable with that, like, why? It's children first, right? It's the students first. And if you actually believe in that, then let's do it. So no, I think it's a great question. Yeah, I think that they should.
Thank you. And Paul, could you?
Yeah. So yeah, we started a little late. It was I think after 6:20 that we finally got started. We wanted to give ample time, and also because we were waiting on Patti Sulpizio, who RSVP'd via Facebook, but I do not see her in the room. I don't believe she's been in the room. So I don't think she's going to come. And there was a third person who was considering coming and running, but is not here. So I assume she decided against it. We did interview 3 people last week. Elizabeth Castillo, Rebecca Wolfersberger, who's here, I see, and Isaac Lieberman, right? He was the third person. So we have now covered 4 candidates of the 7 regions, but unfortunately, we would have liked some more. I don't think Patty's going to come at this point, nor this third person. So basically now it's just up to you all and John for how much longer audience and John want to go with extended overtime Q&A, as it were, Q&A from the floor. I'm getting text right now from my wife saying my kids are asking for me, so I can do a couple more minutes, but I think my time's almost up. But yeah.
Look, if there's other questions, I'm happy. Look, let's fire away.
Yeah. I see. Well, no, I saw one hand up, but I guess that hand is not up anymore. I think it was Linda Bassett's hand, but is Linda still raising it? No. Are you there, Linda? Do you have a question, or was that accidental? Or was
I'm here, but I think, that John's done a really great job of answering questions, and my question can wait for another day, another time.
Okay.
Thank him so much for all this time.
Great
job.
Thank you, John. And Gabriel Ramirez, you have a hand up, and so does Linda Perez.
Yes, I do. Hi, John. My name is Gabriel from El Monte. I have a question. So what are your stance on campaign finance reform? Meaning, like, should any elected official, if it's party leaders that takes money from, like, let me give you an example, like developers, contracts, any special interest that is within, like, any organizations, what are your stance on that? And what plans as a city councilman would you implied with your colleagues?
Yeah. Well, look, I think it should be a disqualifying act of that elected official. I don't like special interest money and the effect that it has on our politics and on our policy making, and I'm very religious about that. And so, my view, it should be disqualifying from a LACDP or a Democratic Party nomination or endorsement. And I think that's how we keep people accountable. It's you follow the money, because I think if you look and see who people raise their money from, I think you're going to have a very good sense of what sort of bidding they're going to be doing in that seat. So I'm a huge proponent of disclosure, of sunshine on that, and I think we have to go a step further. And look, publicly funded elections is, I think, the only way to fix, I think, a broken system of government from Congress all the way down to our state legislatures. And I think we have folks in these positions who spend an inordinate amount of time raising money from a very select few organizations and people. And as a result, the policy that gets focused is from that very elite few rich funder. And so, look, I think this is the most serious thing about our broken system right now, because it affects Democrats, it affects Republicans. And if you want serious environmental reform, if you want serious reform on education, on healthcare, on criminal justice, you got to fix the money, or you're never going to get those things. And I've always said that.
Okay. Linda, before John has to run at his wife's request. Linda Perez. Are you there, Linda? I see your hand raised. Are you trying to
Yes,
talk? Yes.
I was muted. So, John, I love all your answers. You were right on point with my own, feelings and the way I see that politics and all of this BS. So, since you have to go and there is no other candidates to be interviewed, what I was going to suggest, Paul, if you guys agree, is to have an open conversation between all of us and give us all a chance to, express our opinions and for everybody else to talk about this since we have some free time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We did do that on the second forum night when we got skunked, when neither Mark Gonzalez nor any candidate came. And so we had open free forum forum night. And so, yeah, I'm happy to do that. I reserved until 9 o'clock for you all. So I'm happy to do that. Leah Hertzberg, though, did raise her hand. If John is willing to entertain, it's one more question here from our.
Yeah, I can do one more for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the elder stateswoman, wise sage here of the Democratic Party, Leah Hertzberg, take it away.
Yes, I just want to let everyone know that there's a conflict with the GIPSIV endorsement committee tomorrow, so we won't be able to vote for our regional director. And we're working on the Burbank Council, so I think, John, if you don't see some of the people supporting you, it's because they're unable to vote tomorrow.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Leah.
Okay. And I think those were all the hands I do see. I think Linda just forgot to unraise her hand. Same thing with Leah Hertzberg. If once you've asked your question or whatever, if you can unraise your hand. I do see a raised hand that just popped up from Angel Izzard. If John wants to still stay for one more, if Angel has a question or a comment.
Oh, it's a statement. Just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to field all the questions. I know it is not always the easiest thing, so thank you for doing that. And hope that you have a great night with your kids.
Thanks, Angel. Yeah, Thanks, everyone. I appreciate that. And thank everyone. It was really a pleasure. And my cell phone, I'll email you on my cell phone. You guys can call me anytime. It's John Harabedian at Gmail, but Paul, I'll send you my cell that you can send anyone. Give me a call anytime.
You know what? If you want to do, John, you could put it in the chat. Yeah, if you want to put your contact information in the chat, that would be great. Okay, I think, yeah, that's your cell phone, you're saying?
Yep, call me anytime.
Don't say it out loud because we are putting this on YouTube, Facebook, so. Okay. So we have the email and we have the phone number for those who would like to keep in touch with you folks. That's in the chat. And John says you're welcome to have it. So that's why you put it there. Great. So,
I appreciate it.
Thank you, John, for coming and staying with us for about an hour and a half of questions. And we appreciate it. Thank you for caring enough to run and get involved with the county party and Democratic politics and to serve all of us and the people we were elected to represent. So
thank you.
Thanks, you Paul. Again for coming, and good luck with the kids and good luck with the third on the way. And we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I think at this point, Dennis, we should probably stop recording since the candidate has left the room. And I don't believe that Patti Sulpizio is going to come because she hasn't yet. I haven't heard, I don't think from her. I haven't checked email in the last hour and a half. As I say, there was a third candidate who was considering, but I do not see that person having come. So, yeah, and Susie and Sean are calling it a night. Thank you, Susie and Sean, in the chat. But yeah, as Linda Perez said, I booked 6 to 9 to be available for all of you. And I know some of you booked yourselves to be available for that time. And so I thank you. And yeah, we can continue the discussion. Thank you for anyone who's leaving now. for caring enough, as I was telling John, to be involved in the county party and run, or agree to be appointed as an alternate or associate member, to help the party and to help the people we were elected to represent or appointed to represent. So thank you, all of you, and for your questions too. Because
I'm going to stop the Facebook Live feed and recording.
yeah, okay. Thank you, Dennis. So now we're just having a private, free-form